apologies to everyone who was expecting their ROKER Report podcast fix this morning. Unfortunately, we are running a day behind because of our guest who insisted on recording on a Monday night, making us all come up here at 7:45 on a Monday, making Sean wait all through the night to get it up as well. So yes, we have Jeff Brown from the BBC. We are actually happy to have him here. So how are you doing, Jeff?
Thank you very much. Yes, yeah. Well, I see I'm in the studio till 7 o'clock every night. And I haven't had my tea yet, and I come straight here, so, you know.
He's committed. You're committed to the cause. Is this your first podcast debut?
It is, yes. No, first time.
Yeah, and obviously you will have done radio many times.
Yeah, yes.
This isn't live, so you can say something stupid and we'll get
great. No, radio's where, newspapers where I started, and then I did a bit of radio work, and that's what led me into TV.
Being the face. You had the face for the TV.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that. No. It's masked by a lot of makeup.
Must have said you had the face. Somebody looked at you and went, he's a pretty boy, we'll have him.
Now, what I normally get is, are you that bloke off the telly? Followed by, are you not bigger than that?
You are. You're a shorty, let's be honest. Is anyone else shorter than that? Alex, how tall are you?
5'8", 9", bit taller.
I'm
about 6 foot, I think.
Are we the same height?
Big man, I think so.
Yeah, well,
I'm not bragging, it's just...
This would be a very, very comprehensive tag team victory. Me and the pads against Alex and Jeff. So yes, as the other guest, Alex, you're here. How's things?
I'm not too bad. I've had my tea, so I'm a bit more okay with the whole 7:45 on a Monday night thing.
And what did you have? I've got to ask.
Well, it was my brother's party yesterday, so my mum didn't make a Sunday dinner, so she made it today, which was nice.
That's fair.
Yeah, and
I can get on board with that. Yeah, Monday. Padster, you had tea?
Yeah. I have, yeah. Had some shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's pie,
was nice. Yeah.
You look like a shepherd's pie kind of guy. So you procrastinate too much.
It's like Bake Off, this, isn't it?
Yeah. Know each other too well. Yeah. Right. So Oxford game at the weekend. 1-1 draw. I'll go with a quick rundown of the game in case you didn't see it. You actually weren't there, Jeff, so this could be really helpful for you.
I was skiving. I had to go and help my daughter down in London for the weekend, but I have been watching the highlights.
Yeah, you've been committed.
Do my homework.
Committed to the cause. So starting 11, John McLaughlin, Nets, left back Oviedo, Ozturk, Baldwin, right back Love, midfield Katz, Max Power for about 20 minutes, Maguire, Honeyman, Gooch, then Madger up front. Oxford dominated early on, scored through 16 minutes through Holmes. Ricky Holmes, I've got his face in there, Ricky Holmes, free kick. Maybe McLaughlin could have done a little bit better. Then Max Power was sent off on 19 minutes, which I'm sure we'll all disagree about. Because I thought it was a red card, but a lot of people don't seem to think it is. See, Jeff's already pulling the faces.
No.
I can't see the other guy's faces.
It was a red card.
But there we are. You see me and Alex. We're the tag team now.
Yeah.
Charlie White came on at half time, equalised. Nice little touch. I was right behind it in the northwest corner, so it was nice to see. I could see him just moving it a little bit. Tucking it in that
like a good striker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one of them for a while. Well, we had James Vaughan. Less said about him than
he scored on the weekend.
He did.
Yeah,
I did see that.
That little silence when you said his name there was deafening.
Yeah, it was. He's almost worse than Rodwell, to be honest. I can't stand James Vaughan, especially because he bites on Twitter as well. Oh.
Yeah,
he does. So we've got a draw. I think it was a good point for Sunderland. So Jeff, I'll throw it at you. What did you make of the point? Good point?
Yeah, well, I've been reminding people of this. On the first time I met Jack Ross was the day the fixtures came out, and I was doing the event, the fixtures breakfast for the foundation. He spoke for 45 minutes, had absolutely everybody eating out of his hand. Really interesting guy. And one of the things that I do remember, he said, look, I know you're hoping that the team's going to run away with the league. He said, but the first few weeks, probably the first few months, will be a bumpy ride because I've got to get a team together. The guys, I don't even know who's going to come in yet. They've got to get to know how to play with each other. Play football with each other. And I think he will look at it and think to be at this stage of the season, to be unbeaten, to have the points on the board is a massive bonus, really, when you think of how far the club's had to come and with a team, as I say, who don't know each other.
I think it was the best start in like 28 years, I think I heard them say. So
yeah, and
positives all around, really.
Yeah, and the fact that, I mean, it is, I could sense a slight note of concern in his voice in the post-match interviews where he's probably thinking, yeah, okay, great character, 10 men to get a point and grind it out, but just that habit of going a goal down, eventually, it's gonna bite them, and they're not going to be able to pull it out of the hat.
Alex, what do you make of that? The going down a goal, or going down a goal and getting a man sent off as it was at the weekend. Is that an area of concern, or should we just be happy to picking up the wins and the draws?
Well, at the very least, it's nice to see a Sunderland team go a goal down and then go on to win the game, or at least get something from the game. You know, last season, the seasons before, especially the one with Moyes, if you go a goal down and then get a man sent off, you're 3-0 down at half time. You know, the game's over, the fans are walking down 60 minutes. So, yeah, you know, I'm not concerned at the moment because I think I'm just riding that wave of relief that, you know, Sunderland can come back in games when they go down. But I think what Jeff says, right, you know, there is an element of concern there. You know, if Sunderland keep going a goal down, like say if it happens against Fleetwood, even if you go on to win, you know, you have to identify a definite flaw in the team there, that for some reason they can't start games well, because you can't rely on the team to, you know, come back from behind and win every game, or get a draw in a few and win most of them. You know, eventually you're going to go behind and stay behind because you can't win every game 2-1. Basically, no matter how good you might look on paper.
Padster, what do you make of the slow start? Is that an area to be concerned, or we're happy with that? You know, seemingly the 30-minute period we play every game where we blitz a team and win the game because of that.
Yeah, I think I agree with the guys here. I think it's a case where if it does keep on happening, like, you know, if it gets to a regular weekly basis, then yeah, we need to be concerned. But I think at the minute everyone's sort of trying to look at the positives. Really, you know, we're 6 games unbeaten. You know, we've gone the whole of August unbeaten, which that won't have happened in
ever.
Well, yeah, probably not. But
I can't recall a time in my life.
Yeah, so I think it's just at the minute, like, obviously, yeah, the Oxford performance wasn't great, but it was good to like fight back, and obviously having 10 men for 70 odd minutes. And I think, yeah, at the minute it's just something to, obviously you don't want to make a habit of it really, but it's not too much of a concern, I don't think.
We'll talk a little bit now about refereeing. You mentioned going down to 10 men there. So first place to start is the Max Power red card. Jeff, I think you seem to think it wasn't a red.
Yeah, well, I watched it a few times. I edited the pictures for Look North tonight, and watching it again, he actually pulls out of the tackle. So he's sliding in with his right leg, but just before it looks like he's about to make contact, he pulls his leg out. So I looked, having watched it the first time, I thought, oh yeah, I can see what people were saying. But actually, if you watch it slowed down, I thought he pulled out of it.
Do you think first view of the referee? See, the way I saw it was, I have my qualification, so I have my referee's hat on. I'll throw that out there straight away. I'm informed. So first thing I saw is he was miles away from the ball. Number one. Number two, he made no attempt to play the ball because he was miles away from it. And number three, it was a tackle from behind. And I just look at them 3 things, and as the referee on the pitch, without seeing it, over and over again, I think hard for him not to give a red card for that. I think if it's a 1.5 yellow, isn't it? It's between the two. It's a bit of a grey area, and I think maybe the way the game was going, it was a very dirty game. Maybe he should have yellow carded it because he give himself a difficult decisions to make later on when he could have given other red cards. But Alex, you're in agreement with me.
I am, yeah, and I hear what you're saying, Jeff. Obviously, the issue is that once you commit to a tackle like that, you've committed to it. You know, even if you have second thoughts right at the end, all the referee's going to see is a tackle from behind. You know, 2 legs. It looked, it's pretty. You know, it wasn't. You know, and he wasn't. There was no malice behind it, but it was a very aggressive tackle nonetheless. And you know, a referee sees that, and he has to give the red because he's not going to see the exact expression on Max Power's face when he realises that he's about to pull out of it. Yeah. He's not going to see, you know, his leg twitch at the last moment. He's just going to see the legs flying, and he's just going to give it because he's tackled from behind. That's a professional foul as far as he's concerned, and as far as most of the fans were concerned at the time. You know, I saw him go in. I'm fairly far away from the pitch, and I thought, right, okay. I looked away and thought, right, that's got to be a red. You know, I've seen him go in. That's enough for me, and that will be enough for the referee too.
They've appealed it though, haven't they?
So they have, yeah.
So I think they'll have looked at those and on the basis that he didn't go through with the tackle. That's what they'll be appealing.
Padster, we're going to treat this a bit like the X Factor. We've got 4 judges here, right? We're sending
Casting
them
vote.
off. Yeah, we're sending them off. Jeff's keeping them on. Are you with us? Are you sending them home? Or are you?
I think it's frustrating because I think it was a red, and it's annoying because I think possibly Max Power was the only person in that ground who thought that he needed to make that tackle, because you could just see, I think their lad, he took it away from Cattermole, and then it's quite funny because obviously that's a challenge what we've seen Cattermole make in the past earlier in his career, but obviously he didn't make the challenge then, and then you could always see Power was going to be a few yards behind, and it's just like, surely he's not, and then obviously he did, and then I think the momentum's maybe made it look a bit worse. I think obviously with the speed their play was getting away, but no, I don't think you can really. I think it was a send it off. I don't think you can argue with it. It's just annoying that he's even made that challenge really.
And then we've got Maguire, who I think should have been off. He got a yellow card off the ball, which I'll admit I have not seen. I don't think anybody's seen it again.
No.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that.
Yeah, so Maguire should have been sent off though for the second. Once he's booked, he did a tackle, so he probably should have been. Are we all in agreement with that one?
Yeah,
Referee,
I'd say so.
maybe a bit overawed by the occasion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quite possibly.
And then we've got Oviedo. I watched that one, but that one's on the highlights, and that one, I thought at the time it was a second yellow. Now I've seen it again. I think referee maybe could get away with not booking him for that one.
I'm quite surprised that he wasn't actually taken off Oviedo after his first yellow, because you could just see him, like, he seemed pretty pumped up, which obviously isn't always a bad thing, but you just think, like, with the way the ref was dishing out yellow cards, it's like every time there was a 50-50, I'm thinking he's got to be careful here, which I was quite surprised that he didn't get taken off, to be honest.
And then there was the Oxford lad who did a tackle on Honeyman. I can't remember who it was. I should have really researched that. Bad planning on my
The
part.
Oxford lad.
We don't even know these jobbers.
So the Oxford lad, I don't know. Anybody else help me out with the name on that one?
No.
No. Right. Well, do you want the tackle?
Was it Jamie Mackey? Because he's the one I recognised on the programme.
No, I don't think
It was midfielder, wasn't it? I think, but
He's the Oxford midfielder, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
Do you know
was-
the tackle? That's all I'm asking.
yeah.
John
Right, was that a red
Oxfordson
card?
of Oxford
Yeah.
went in with the tackle.
So, are we saying red card on that one? Did they get lucky? Anyone want to take that?
Yeah, I think they did. I mean,
Do you think it is a red card?
yeah, I think
I feel like I'm the only one who saw that one. To be honest.
I think
I'm scratching my head.
because the referee gave a red for, Max Power's almost a professional foul. It effectively sets a precedent, doesn't it? If you're going to give a red for that, then you have to be quite severe going forward with the rest of your decisions,
yeah.
which I think made the game very difficult for him and both of the teams, really, because I think we saw a lot more cards than you normally do, and that stems, I think, entirely from the Max Power decision.
Was Sunderland horrendously dirty? But I thought, watching the game at the time, I left it. I said to my friend who I go to the games with, I was like, we have been really dirty today.
I thought we were a bit more scrappy than usual.
Yeah.
I thought Oxford, were good at bullying us off the ball, and I think we responded with our own aggression, but I think we came off worse in the sense that we were the one getting called out more by the referee.
Did the referee have a poor game, Jeff?
From what I hear, yeah. The danger is when you make those big decisions early on. In a league where you generally get a lot more leeway, I think as you go further down the divisions, you do seem to get away with an awful lot more. So it was a surprise to find there were eight cards or 9 cards.
20. I think Sunderland committed 20 fouls. They committed 16. The thing is, there's
It's a
an
dirty
argument
game.
that Oxford sort of played the game that way. They try to upset our rhythm, but I personally didn't see it. I just thought we were dirty. Don't know, Alex. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I do think that Oxford sort of frustrated us into a lot of those challenges, but I don't think we were playing good football regardless, especially in the first half. There was a lot of... I know Baldwin went on to have, one of the better games of the Sunderland players on that day,
But
but
a very good game.
yeah, in the first half though, he was, that when they played Scunthorpe, they were just like passing through them, but against Oxford, they were just pumping long balls up, and I don't understand why they suddenly changed the plan, because they were going nowhere, and all the creativity in midfield just seemed to go. I don't know. It just looked very frustrating in that game. We grew into it more in the second, but in the first, they just looked fairly poor.
So the biggest worry is going to be set pieces.
Yeah.
Why can the team not? Especially when we've got a manager who's a defender. Why?
Yeah.
They're still not. Early on, I thought they're just trying to get to know each other and know each other's game. But no matter what combination that have been playing at the back, especially at the heart.
Only one goal from open play though.
Yeah,
which is the positive flip side of that.
Yeah,
it is worrying if they can sort the defensive set pieces out. Then
because there were a few scrambles from apart from the one that Oxford scored from the free kick, a few corners that caused a lot of problems.
Charlie Wyke scores in his debut. I was trying to think of some Sunderland strikers who scored in their debut in the past. I don't know.
Cisse,
yeah, it's Spurs.
Darren Bent.
Oh, don't mention it. That didn't happen.
No.
It did.
Forget about that one.
The touch, the faint touch that he got, did remind me of a great story of Marcus Stewart scoring from an Andy Welsh free kick at the Stadium of Light.
Oh yes.
Oh, hang on, did that get gifted to Marcus Stewart?
Yeah, that's right. I think it was. Yeah, he claimed it. He claimed it. I was telling someone in the office today. We interviewed him a couple of days after and said, "Did you get a touch, Marcus?" And he said, "Well, actually, am I going to attempt the accent?" He said, like, brush my hair, like, and hair is part of your body, so that's my goal. He said, yeah, I don't think the ball flicking your fringe actually counts as your vital touch. But that's what good strikers do.
It's the Hurricane thing, isn't it? Last year he claimed that one against Stoke. But either way, he gets the goal, no doubt about it.
Had a great start for him.
Yeah, he played really well.
Yeah, I mean, if claiming the goal counts as it touching you last, no matter what part of your body it is, no matter what a small part.
I think it
counts on
counts.
it.
I think it was a beautiful touch. More
Yeah,
than
if
just
it's
an
the slightest strand
touch.
of a hair, if it touched that last, by definition, it's your goal.
Yeah, but that
Bish,
was
bash, bosh.
the White score was better than that. He actually meant to touch that one in.
Yeah, that was a lovely little finish. That
I think obviously it was made a bit more like a bit easier to see the way Gooch reacted. Because obviously, Gooch was running over to Wyke and that, so I think straight away Gooch just thought, well, he's got a touch on that.
Yeah.
So that sort of took a bit of the doubt away from it. Just the way Gooch went and celebrated with Wyke.
Jeff, how impressive have you been with Gooch?
Yeah, great. I mean, it's really nice that the lad's taken it on. I mean, there was a worry that all the young guys who were coming through were suddenly going to say, look, I can find somewhere else, I can start somewhere else. But he's just a really good player who's settled down. He's got his head down. He realised what can be achieved at this club. I think that's what initially Jack Ross had to do. He had to convince a few players to stay to attract more people in. Because if everyone was just jumping ship, then you're gonna people are gonna think, why would I want to join Sunderland, isn't it? But because the likes of Gooch and Honeyman hung around and Madger, and then they started getting more and more players in. But no, I think he's been he showed what he did when he first came in the team a couple of years ago, and people were thinking, where did he go? Then he got injured for a while, didn't he, when he was out? But,
he made his debut against Man City I don't know if his debut. He started that opening day against Man City under he who shall not be named David Moyes.
But great energy, and he makes things happen when he gets on the ball. He actually makes.
There was actually in the programme this week, him and George Honeyman, I think, were interviewed, and they said that their goals are just to see Sunderland back in the Premier League, which makes you wonder, with the new contracts they're going to need by the end of the year, hopefully they'll sign on the dotted line. That'll be important for Sunderland. The goal that Oxford scored, good free kick, but could McLaughlin have done better, Alex?
I think it was a good free kick, to be honest. Maybe a bit better, but
because he gets to it.
I think that's the best you can probably expect from a League One keeper, in my opinion. I think we haven't got Pickford anymore. We haven't got Steele. No, we haven't got. Thankfully, it would have been more than one if we had Steele or Camp. But no, I think he's done well so far. Generally, he's been fairly decent. But I think your average League One keeper doesn't save that, so I'm not too bothered that he didn't.
I think he's been quite shaky in the last few games. I don't know if that's
about shaky.
Paddy, what do you think?
From set pieces, especially, it's just like, I mean, he doesn't look the most confident coming off his line, and I think obviously, there was the goal which was offside for Oxford, and you just got to think, maybe he should be keeping hold of that. But I think overall, I think he's played well, but I think a part of it is just that obviously last season we were so used to having shocking goalkeepers. Now we've got one who's
not shocking.
Yeah.
Do you think I've built a complex? Is that what it is? Have I got a goalkeeping complex?
Maybe that's what it is.
We should get David Priesson just to talk us through it. Just to, no, they're not bad. Don't worry, fan. They're okay.
Just put an arm on his shoulder, say some words softly.
Yeah, maybe I need therapy.
He's flapped at one or two crosses and cut about. And the one on Saturday again, I watched the replay, and I'm guessing it swerved because by the time he saved it, again, hard to see when it happens in real time, but when I slowed it down, it was sort of to the left of him, and he did well to keep it out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's just not, still getting to know his defenders, getting to know who he can trust to go and clear the ball when he's got to come off his line. So he's been a decent sort of 6-7 out of 10, I think, so far.
If you think about he's obviously been in goal for 6 games now. The different combinations he's had playing in front of him, it's been more than what most keepers would have to put up with in the opening month of the season. Because obviously with injuries and just having to shuffle things around. So I think once we get a more settled back four, I think we'll see his confidence improve.
Yeah, he's had just about every combination of our fit back four, hasn't he?
Apart from Flanagan, who probably will play tomorrow night. We'll move on to that later though. But I want to talk about, we're talking about the back four. I want to talk about that beautiful man, Jack Baldwin, who is just winning me over with every performance. It's just just does everything you'd want. He's good with the ball. He's defensively sound. I love the way he dribbles out of defence. He seems to tick all the right boxes. I don't know what you guys think. Is that just me just having them love heart eyes? Or...
I agree with you in all those respects. I think all those attributes that you're pointing out he has, but his long ball distribution for me is fairly poor. Just a devil's advocate take on Baldwin there. I think he's a great defender, but I think that part of his game's wanting a bit.
Right, so Alex hates Baldwin.
Yeah, that's it. That's me.
I think he seems to be enjoying himself, which is great. Probably enjoying being back in the northeast.
Did you know him from when he was at Hartlepool? Yeah,
vaguely. I don't think I ever interviewed him. I'm pretty sure I would have seen him play. But I think he's one of these guys who's come back and he was with Hartlepool before, went away, it was Captain Peterborough, and then he's suddenly come back and he's got a bit more, he's back in the area and people now will be thinking, oh, actually, this guy's done really well. He's moving up the ladder. So I'm sure there's a bit of that about it, that he's enjoying being at a club like Sunderland, having been at somewhere like Hartlepool.
What do you think his impact's having on Ozturk, Paddy? What do you think? Because I thought at the weekend that was probably Ozturk's best performance.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what Ozturk needed. I think because obviously he played at Luton and was Chef Wed in the Cup his last game. I think.
Oh, hey, don't talk about that Chef Wed game.
Yeah, but exactly. Obviously, I think his first game back in the team, like it had to be a decent one. And I think obviously having Baldwin alongside him, like we were saying, he's really confident on the ball, and I think he's a good sort of player for the likes of Ozturk, who can be a good player. It's just a case of building the confidence. I think if them two get a bit of a run together, I don't know if Leuven's is...
I think Leuven's just a little knock. Well, he came off at half-time against Wimbledon with a tight hamstring.
Let's say if it might be missing for Fleetwood. Say if it is Ozturk and Baldwin again and they have another good game, I think that's exactly what Ozturk needs, really. So obviously the next time he does, say if Leuven's comes back in, Ozturk sits out, but he can know that it's not because he's played poorly. It's just like sort of moving things around, and that'll do in the world of good, really, just in everyday training.
What do we make of Donald Love, who was, well, to be blunt, poor at the weekend and being pretty much a weak link for Sunderland all season so far? So what do we make of Donald Love?
I think he's a very, very limited fullback, really. I don't think he can do an awful lot more than the bare minimum defensive duties you'd expect from a fullback. That he doesn't even do that well in this division. Personally, there's been quite a few wingers in this league that have, had the better of him for most of the game.
Yeah.
And I think when he gets the ball off them, when he goes forward, he doesn't really do an awful lot with it. There's a lot of just sort of sideways passing, a lot of just sort of hoofing the ball away. There's not really, it's not very inspiring, I don't think, watching him play. And I just don't think he's very good, to be honest, to put it bluntly.
Do you think, Jeff, you're the same?
Not desperately impressed with him. For a guy who's got great pedigree, but then again, Manchester United don't get rid of good players, do they? They get rid of the ones who they think.
You would think with a player who's played, he played in the Premier League for Sunderland. Now,
exactly.
I'm not saying he was great.
No.
But you think a player who played in the Premier League for Sunderland and wasn't,
completely horrendous.
Yeah. And then he drops it down to the Championship and he didn't look great, and he drops down to League One and he still doesn't look great.
No. That's worrying.
So he has apparently been carrying a knock, so I'm willing to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. But I think long live Adam Matthews. And
Don Love did look quite good towards the end of the Championship season before he got injured. I remember that he had a few good games. I do believe he was my ROKER Report trademark man of the match on two occasions. Yeah.
I don't like the way.
Still more than none.
Obviously, when he has a tendency to carry the ball forward and then not know what to do with it and then lose it really easily. And obviously, when you're a fullback coming out of position, leaving that massive gap in behind you, it's not the sort of thing what we need our fullbacks to do. And I'm with Connor, just need Adam Matthews back, really.
He's not like Patrick Van Aanholt, is he? Where Van Aanholt used to, I wonder out at right midfield if he wanted to, but he'd get back because he's got so much pace.
Yeah, exactly.
And he score a few goals as well.
I used to Van Aanholt. Great defender. So that's the sort of the defensive concerns. Flanagan though should be back this week, hopefully. So that'll be good.
Might he be fit in time for the Stoke game?
I think so. Well, I put him in there. I did the lineup piece for ROKER Report, and I have him in there. But I also have Luke Molyneux in there, who's playing tonight and has just scored for Sunderland 23. So what do I know? I'm just an idiot. We've got a question here from Gav, the ROKER Report leader. the leader of our Roker Report flock.
Leader of men.
Not to be too negative, but does anything worry you about what you've seen from our start of the season?
I think we just about covered it really. Set pieces and
Going behind.
Early on. Really, that's. I think generally it is very encouraging given the low base from which they started and the fact that McGeoch, who I saw at Darlington in the pre-season friendly and was very impressed with them then, that he's coming back, that Charlie Wyke's, getting there towards fitness now, that we've still got McGeady, who's the on loan guy? Sinclair. And Duncan Watmore, who must be like Rip Van Winkle, fell asleep in the Premier League and sort of woke up briefly in the Championship and now suddenly finds himself in League One. Is he going to be the same player? I mean, who knows? But
he doesn't necessarily need to be at this level. He's dropped down.
With all those things still to come, given the position the club are in now, I think no one can grumble really.
Yeah. And what about Mr. Ndong and Papi Delaboji? What do we make of the full situation there? I mean, we've got Stuart Donald in here on Friday, so I'm sure he'll give all the gossip.
There are a couple of absolute penny-pinching mercenaries, and I hope they rot in the reserves where Rodwell once stood.
Well, they're not actually penny-pinching now because they're not getting paid, so they're just two idiots.
It's bizarre, isn't it? You would think, I mean, probably like anybody, everyone around the table, everyone listening would all want to do is play football for a living and not to even to turn up for training.
I just think what they've done is completely thick. I mean, what potential employer is going to go, oh, you know what signs I want to make? The two lads who refuse to do the work they're contracted to do. Yeah, they seem like great professionals, great blokes. Let's get them on.
Yeah, but
instead of a million other blokes who can do the same jobs they can, but with a better attitude.
Yeah, it's bad that they're actually worse than Coney attitude-wise, because that takes some doing.
Yeah.
We've got a thing here from Div 3, Div 4 Football. I think it's a podcast. They've
sounds like one.
Question.
Yeah, it does sound like it.
They said, what did you make of Oxford's very own divine ponytail, Ricky Holmes, the goal scorer? To be honest, from a Sunderland perspective, I don't really watch the opposition players that intently. While obviously I'm watching the game, I don't take notice of who's who. So I would just say it was a good free kick. And to be honest, I didn't even realise he had a ponytail.
To be fair, it was a bit of a nuisance. I mean, what I saw of him in the game anyway, obviously, was
was playing on Love's side.
I don't know.
There we are.
That might be it.
Yeah.
But he looked when he was on, he looked lively to me, and it was a good free kick. So
I watched him play a lot for Northampton. That was in League 2, and I thought he was. I didn't realise he was at Oxford. Obviously, I saw the teams and that, and then I thought obviously him and Mackie would be players to look out for. And I thought he was a handful, and obviously he got the goal.
Jimmy Lawson asks, what do you believe to be the reason we're starting games so slowly? Is it a poor warm-up, a lack of respect for the opposition? And what can Ross do to get us playing from the first whistle? Now, we have started virtually every game slowly, apart from the Scunthorpe game.
Yeah.
I think that would be fair to say.
Yeah.
Although then again, we went 1-0 down against Gillingham, but we're 3-1 up by like 20-odd minutes. So that's not true. But what do you think it is? Is it? I think it must be complacency. Is the only thing I can think of, because it's taken them so long to start the games on time. It makes you wonder that they need to be almost like slapped around a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, actually, we need to win this."
I don't think we're complacent. I don't think there's been any lack of respect for the opposition. I think that the worst we've done of that is when I've jokingly, called the team's jobbers. But obviously, I don't really mean that. I respect the opposition. I don't think that we're entitled to be better than them. Let's still be like the blokes up the road.
I'm not asking about whether or not you respect the opposition. I'm asking whether the players do.
Yeah, but I mean, like that mentality. It's all encompassing, isn't it? It'll be on the pitch and it'll be in the stands.
Yeah, so
naturally, as a club that's dropped down from the Premier League 2 seasons ago, a lot of people will expect us to think that we're above teams like Gillingham and Fleetwood. That that it's a given we should be winning 4-0. But I don't think Jack Ross is the kind of bloke. I think he's very measured. I don't think he would tell his players, right, come on lads, we're better than these. We should just be battering them. I think he'll take every game as it comes. He'll beat the team in front of him, but he'll treat that team with respect. So I don't think it's that. I think maybe they do just start slowly, but I think that's just due to that being a problem in and of itself, rather than some kind of complacency or some sort of entitled mentality that ultimately comes back to bite us. I mean, if it was that as well, we would have learned by now to not do that. We wouldn't be going into every single game thinking, right, we're better than these, and going a goal behind each time and then coming back. Otherwise, you'd wonder what Jack Ross was doing. So I don't think it's that at all.
I think maybe it does work the other way as well. That teams are playing against Sunderland and are lifting their own game, and especially the ones who've come to the stadium of light. And Charlton certainly were, and Oxford. So it maybe that's what's putting the team on the back foot a little bit, and the teams are coming out thinking this is a big game for us.
Yeah, this is great.
There were a lot of Oxford fans there at the weekend, and of course, when Sunderland take a lot of away fans, builds the atmosphere and it stokes it up a bit.
Yeah.
But you haven't said that the team should still be starting a bit quicker and responding.
I think it is more of a case of the teams upping their game, because if you think, obviously, Oxford didn't play like a team who have only won one game this season. So as you said, it's just like I'd say big D out, but I mean that sounds a bit patronising. You know, they come to.
It is, though, isn't it? At the same time,
it is. Yeah,
that was
the Will Seed as such.
Yeah,
biggest crowd they've played in front of since the last at the stadium, right?
Well,
there we are.
Sort of in itself.
Yeah, the likes of Oxford, Fleetwood, Accrington and Stanley, very, very rarely do they get to play in front of 30,000 people. It's just a big occasion for them. I'm sure they'd agree.
Do you think Jack Ross should maybe just treat the game like it's half-time at the start and just go and just shout at them and tell them they're useless? Because clearly his half-time team talks are very good. His opening ones must be terrible.
I can't imagine he shouts. I just don't see him as a shouter either.
Do you know? What do you see him as?
No,
I think he's more of a cuddler.
He's more of a stroke the chin. Let's have a look, see what I can do here. Let's have a bit of tinkering around. And to be fair to him, he's made some good changes, and he does seem to, he's always constantly
his
thinking.
tactics. Yeah. His half-time changes normally. Well, his changes after half-time are always very good.
Yeah, tell you what, I reckon he's stern. He's always stern at the half-time team talks, and he always seems like the kind of bloke that could just shout at any moment. And that's what keeps them on edge.
You think?
I think, he's right in between, sort of being overly aggressive and not. He's somewhere right in the middle. He's like a volcano, always on the edge of eruption, but he never does.
Do you think my view of him being a cuddler might be misguided?
Oh, he's not a cuddler. That is not a cuddly man.
If I ever meet him, I'm going to go in for the hug. Just go in straight. It's like, Jack, bring it in. Bring it in.
He probably would. He'd probably give you a hug, I think. He's a very decent bloke.
I might make that like a life goal. I'm going to hug Stuart on Friday. I'm just going to go in straight away.
Yeah.
Like, Stewie.
He won Stuart.
Yeah, give him a hug. Give him a kiss. There we are. Give him a kiss. Just on the cheek. No. We'll keep it PG rated. Jake Collinson asks, surely with the imminent returns of McGeady, Sinclair and anyone else I'm forgetting, bracket, injury-wise that is, bracket, should that be heralded as a positive or a negative in the sense that it may disrupt squad harmony with the potential of chop and change because headache for Jack Ross?
I think that's a wonderful problem to have.
I've just totally butchered that tweet there.
No. I think we've got the gist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's only going to be an issue for squad morale in the sense that the players come back from injury will be gutted knowing that they're going to have to sit on the bench for a while or just wait in the queue to get on the pitch, because if the team's continuing to win games, or at least continuing to win most of them and just not losing, they are going to have to wait, because any manager worth his salt is going to know that if a system isn't broke, there's no point fixing it. The likes of McGeady, I'm sure, is a very good player. I remember watching him last season thinking that he could play in the Premier League if he'd stayed fit. There was games against Norwich, and I think it was Preston when he played them where he was absolutely phenomenal. A player like that could tear League One up, but if the wingers we've got are still playing well, they're still working well in that team that's winning games, he's going to have to wait out. He's going to have to wait his turn, wait for one of them to get injured or suspended or just have a couple of bad games. And I think it could only be a detriment to squad morale in that sense, that it's going to be tedious for those players. But I don't think it'll be a problem for Ross personally. I don't think he'll suddenly be deciding to drop Maguire if he's playing well just because McGeady's back. I don't think it works like that.
I recall last year, when you said McGeady being Premier League quality, I remember last year leaving a game and saying to one of my friends that we might sell him for like 7 million in January.
Right.
I remember saying that, and
not your hottest take, that one.
Yeah, it was a really cold, ice cold.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just funny to think back how you view players. I just remember saying that.
Yeah, Lamine Corney, 18 million, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To be fair, I would have accepted that at the time.
Absolute zero take. Think it would be better for kept him.
Because it was like
frostbitten.
Wasn't that just after we'd sold Kabul? Yeah,
yes,
I think he wasn't the same after. Yeah,
no,
I think he wasn't the same after Kabul left.
Kabul was his brain, that's why.
Well,
he was a useless footballer.
Yeah, it's like Pinky in the brain, wasn't it?
Just like go over there, just like defend that. Yeah. Right. Okay. We're gonna talk a little bit about Stoke and Fleetwood. So the Stoke game, to be honest, I would say it's offensive. that Sunderland are playing Stoke under 23s in a competitive fixture.
Yeah, that is
Jeff,
awful.
I'm throwing that at you. Is it offensive? Should I get over that, or should I still just go to the game tomorrow and be a little bit steaming?
Nah, you just got to go and enjoy the game, haven't you? It's a match. It's a chance to get to a cup final. It's a chance to win
Exactly.
something.
I've got a problem with that.
Silverware.
Stoke Championship under 23 team.
Yeah, no. Well, no, that concept is ludicrous. No, I mean I covered Carlisle when they won the Johnson's Paid Trophy, and when it actually meant something, because it's a day out for the Football League teams. That's what it should be. I mean, if for instance Stoke under 23s got to the final, how many fans do you think Stoke would take there? Probably not very many.
No,
it doesn't mean as much to them as it does to. It was. Say when Carlisle won it, it was fantastic because it was like we've won the cup for our leagues, and it's not the same. I don't know whoever brought in the idea. It was crazy.
It's a very unglamorous fixture. That forget a cold Wednesday night at Stoke. Try a cold Tuesday night at home to Stoke's under 23s.
It's got to be worse.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I almost want to brush over the Stoke game. Like I hope they win, but it's pointless getting worried about team selections and stuff because I actually think the majority of Sunderland fans want to win but don't really care.
Yeah,
I think that's probably a fair assessment.
I have no idea what the crowd's going to be tomorrow.
Well, I bought my ticket before and it was they've only opened the West Stand, but it was reasonably busy.
Yeah.
I had to go on the wings. I was almost in the corner, to be honest.
I think most fans, like, they won't view it as sort of like what the competition is. I think most people just go along and it's just like we're playing good football and it's just another chance to watch their team play, really. So, and obviously, yeah, it's a tournament which we haven't played in for a long time, albeit it was pretty different the last time we played in it. I think people just want to go along and try and see us win another football game. Really.
Yeah. I think we should, with the Checker Trade Trophy, we should just take each game as it comes. And for now, while we're in the preliminary rounds, just use it to blood the new players. I mean, that could well be a great solution to, Jack Ross's potential selection problems. The likes of Flanagan, McGeady, Sinclair coming back. If we've got these fairly low-profile games, just chuck them in. Because they'll still offer decent competition when you're playing the likes of, Stoke's youth team and Morecambe. They're probably not as good as most teams will be playing in this division, but they'll still be, they won't be far off. There'll be decent competition. We can keep playing them knowing that there's a very good chance that should we keep going, we'll get into the further rounds, and then suddenly we can win silverware. We'll be surely one of the favourites to win the tournament, or at least we'll be, in and around. So yeah, I think for now, just treat the tournament as a good chance to, play the fringe players, the ones trying to get, back with the in crowd. Give them a good chance to play competitive games, and then once you're in the more intense rounds, then start treating it seriously.
I think
start with one intention, then once you're further in, go to win it.
I think that the game means a lot to a player like Luke O'Nien. That's who I look at tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, he can come in. I suspect he'll probably play in his favourite position behind the striker tomorrow, and I think for him, it's a really big opportunity, especially because the team didn't play great at the weekend. Like if he plays well, maybe scores a couple of goals, he might actually have a chance of starting at the weekend. So it does have that.
I felt a bit sorry for him after the Charlton game. We interviewed him. I interviewed him on the Thursday, I think it was, before the game, and he was so excited at having come. He said he even before he signed, he came and had a look at the ground and was, wow, couldn't believe he was in the stadium, and then couldn't believe he was actually going to be playing at the weekend. So it was a shame it didn't work out, and I think a lot of fans would have looked at him and written him off after the first 45 minutes of his first game. But he's a young lad who was very determined to succeed. I think he...
there's bound to be nerves, isn't there, in your first game?
Yeah, and so someone was telling me he got when Watford, I think it was Watford, released him, and he hired himself his own personal trainer to build up his own fitness. And the lad is keen. He's very keen to succeed. That. So I hope he gets on as a decent game.
Tom Atkinson asks, do you think Jack Ross will tinker with his system this weekend? It almost feels like clubs are beginning to formulate an effective plan to counter our attacking style effectively. They harass our players from the goal and force the issue. Could McGeoch or O'Nien be the answer? So we've talked a little bit about O'Nien, but what do you think about the system? Is it time to maybe change the way we're playing a little bit?
I don't know. I think the biggest thing they're going to have to combat is the fact that Joey Barton will have his team so fired up the weekend. Anyone who remembers seeing him, I can't remember which team he came.
It's a QPR.
Was it when he came back and was holding up
with a 5-1? Yeah, that was QPR.
Yeah, this will be a game that he will have been looking forward to since the fixtures came out, and he will really have them fired up with the I'm sure.
Joey Barton can, he can change his name to Joseph on Twitter. He can use this whole pseudo-intellectual new persona he's made, but ultimately he's the same petty and vindictive bloke who's going to fire up his team to play Sunderland for his own petty and vindictive reasons, and that's to beat them so he can give it the big 5-1 again. He's not. He won't have grown up. This is Joey Barton we're talking about.
He's been very nice about it in the press. He's talking him up.
That's probably breaking it.
That's just his, as I said, it's just his managerial act, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
So as you said, deep down, he's going to be thinking, "I want to go out and smash them."
Oh
and
yeah,
say them
of course,
so
of
badly.
course. Yeah.
I think he's best off though this weekend. Sort of, he can shield his team quite a bit by putting it all on him. And that could be a tactic he takes the weekend.
Yeah, that's
certainly.
true.
But then again, it can work in Sunderland's favour that we don't get on the back of the team if we're struggling because we're too busy calling Joey Barton. So,
Quite possible.
Yeah, could be an interesting weekend. But I think McGeoch coming in, obviously, if Max Power isn't, if he's suspended, I suspect that'll be the change that's brought in. And I think that could change things forward because, again, McGeoch comes on and he just controls the game. We'll have a little bit more possession when he's on there. He looks like it. He looks probably the best of the midfielders we have. It's been a shame that he's been injured. We've not been able to see him properly, but I think now he'll get the run in the team that should see him get that form.
He looks like one of these players who just has more time than a lot of the people around him, and at this level, he looks way above League One.
He's tidy, but he's sturdy. He can keep the ball and spread around. He can do very intelligent things with it, but at the same time, he's not going to get hassled. He's going to stand his ground, and I think, I think that'll be the answer to Tom's question. I think a player like McGeoch in midfield, would do wonders. It would add a dynamic we maybe wouldn't have. We're maybe just a little bit too flimsy with the current midfield in this division, and McGeoch would make us that, a little bit harder. That would stop teams just breaking us down in the midfield, so we could keep playing that lovely passing game, and just breaking teams down by doing that.
Adster, you in love with McGeoch like we are?
Yeah, I think he's obviously when he came off the bench on Saturday, he's an exciting player to have, and I think it will obviously change the way we play, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because if we change it to suit him more, then I haven't really got a problem with that because we've seen glimpses of what he can do on the ball, and obviously if he gets a few full games under his belt, I think it'll really make a big difference. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him start on Saturday.
We had a question here about Donald Love, but we kind of have already talked about him, so I'm going to skip that, Jason B. So we've answered your question. I'm sorry. Simon Kies, I think that's his name. He's got loads of numbers in his Twitter handle. I just guessed. How do we sort the defence out? Any sign of cross corner or ball in the box and we're shaky? Again, we've talked about that already, but it does seem to keep coming up, and it's interesting that fans are now picking up on. It seems to have just came up this last week that people they seem to not be able to defend balls into the box.
Yeah.
So it's a curious approach. But as for the game itself, what we expecting from the Stoke game and what we expecting for the Fleetwood game, I'll throw a couple of predictions. You're gonna have to predict 2 games.
Blimey, bit hard to know with Stoke. Judging by the way their first team's been playing, I'm guessing the under 23 aren't going to be up to an awful lot. 2-1 home win.
2-1 home win for Stoke. What about Fleetwood?
Is it going to be the same? Is it going to be coming from behind to win? Could be another 2-1. I could see an early Fleetwood goal and a Sunderland comeback.
Alex,
I think as we're playing a full senior team against Stoke's youth team essentially, I think chances are we'll be a lot stronger. Maybe we'll lack a bit of quality here and there, but I think we'll beat them 2-1, and I think with Fleetwood I think we'll beat them 2-0. I just think I think because of McGeoch's extra dynamic, like we spoke about, we won't get found out in the same way we've been found out before, and we'll just go on to beat them by being a cut above essentially.
Padster.
Yeah, I'll probably go with we'll win both of them 2-1.
What? Because it's the 2-1 podcast.
Because with Stoke, obviously, it's a youth team, and I think it's going to be hard to sort of, because obviously you might not be following many players who Stoke have now, but I think especially with it being their youth team, we aren't really going to know anything about their players. I think obviously, it depends how they want to approach it really, because obviously they'd only being their kids. Are they going to go all out and try and be the first academy side to get past the quarterfinals? I don't think any of the academy sides actually done that yet. Yeah, because the last 2 years the last 4 has been League 1 or 2 sides.
Yeah.
So that's going to be but I think should be fairly straightforward. Then for Fleetwood, yeah, I think they're going to come at us because Joey Barton's going to make them. But yeah, we should come away with the 3 points, I think.
Well, I think
I'm pretty confident.
we should beat Stoke. I don't see Stoke scoring. They're on 23s. Nah, we'll keep a clean sheet. I'll say like 2-0 for that, and then
I don't fancy us to keep clean sheets at the minute. But we always have like just
we've kept one.
goal. Yeah, well, that was just we put the game to bed at half time and
Yeah,
to
and
get
I think
skunked up.
they were very poor as well, I think,
Yeah.
to be fair.
I think to say they finished 5th in this league last year, that was a big shock.
Sat the manager in that though. I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of
and then
stuff going on
Fleetwood
there.
beat them, was it 5-0 at their place
Yeah, they
about
did.
3 days later?
Yeah,
that
it's a
means
very-
Fleetwood's 2 goals better than us.
It's a very volatile division, isn't it, League One? From the looks of it, one season you're the cock of the walk, then you're the feather duster.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like Mick Dawes would have went to that Sunderland game, the Scunthorpe manager, and he's probably feeling quite safe. And then he gets beat 3-0 Sunderland, 5-0 on the Tuesday night, or Wednesday night, and he's like, "Oh,
Ships
Right.
ships 8 goals in about 3 days.
and he's sacked."
Life comes at you fast.
Jeff, we've got a final section here, which is mainly just going to talk about you, just
Oh.
everything about you.
Talk about me.
Yeah, but you mentioned, well, you told before roughly how you got to where you are. But do you want a quick rundown of your career and where you started and how you ended up being the BBC's face for football?
Yeah, blimey. Try and condense it. So I was at university at York. No media studies courses in those days because it was a long time ago.
That's a good university though, York.
It was it was lovely. It was
Bright
really
button.
really nice. Economic and social history. But all I ever wanted to be was a newspaper reporter. It was a sports reporter. All I ever wanted to do from about the age of 14 or 15. So I wrote to about 50 newspapers in my final year. Got 6 replies, got 2 interviews and 1 job. So I finished up at the Birmingham Post and Mail. So I was in Birmingham as a trainee journalist, and every day I was going over to the sports desk saying, if there's a job nobody else wants to do, because it's weekends, it's nights or whatever, I'll do it. So by the time I finished my training, by pure chance the job came up on the desk, and the editor just said, well, we don't need to advertise because there's a young kid over there who's desperate. Mm-hmm. So I started off in 1985. I was a sports reporter. First game was Crystal Palace Wolves. Tommy Docherty, manager of Wolves, God, shows me age. 0-0 draw at Selhurst Park, and I was having to do a runner, which was, you're on the phone to a copy taker, giving running commentary on one of the grimmest 0-0 draws I've ever watched. Second match I did, Coventry away at Spurs. I managed to get the penalty taker wrong. So that taught me you should always check with the people around you, check the facts just to see what's happening. Anyway, cut long story short, I did a year there, and then as a sports reporter, and a job came up on the Journal. And although I was desperate to keep heading south and finish up in Fleet Street, which is for your young'uns, is where all newspapers used to be published. People I spoke to just said, look, it's too good an opportunity to miss. And it turned out to be a great move. So I came back, worked on the Journal for 10 years. 5 of those just doing football, 5 of them doing football and cricket. So I was a Durham cricket writer, home and away, every game for 5 years, which was fabulous. Did a bit of radio a while because I was at the cricket. People were ringing up asking me to do reports. Realised it was a lot easier. Broadcasting's a lot easier than writing for a living.
You wouldn't have had a laptop and stuff then.
No.
I mean-
Right at the very end, I had a laptop that had a tiny screen on, and you could only see about 3 lines at a time. And when you finished a report, you had to pick the phone up, dial a number, stick some sort of ear muffs on the end of a phone, and it sent a high pitched, like a fax signal back to the office.
Scary.
It was a bit, yeah. The way things have moved
that actually
on,
petrifies me a little bit.
and
Doing that.
and from there, as it happened, a job came up with Tyne Tees, and because I'd done a lot of sport, a lot of different sports, I'd been in the area for 10 years, and I'd done a bit of broadcasting. I was given the opportunity there, and did 6 years at Tyne Tees, which probably will be the best years of my working life because we're so different, and we're doing things like magazine programs, archive programs. I travelled the world interviewing ex-players, and I went into the archives and dug out footage that hadn't been seen for donkey's years, and it was fabulous. But then a job came up for being like the main man at the BBC, and it was a really tough decision, but it turned out to be the best
Describe
move.
it how you described it to me.
It was like leaving one of the teams in the northeast and joining the other one. Like, for instance, if you're a Sunderland fan joining Newcastle, if you're a Newcastle fan joining Sunderland, it was like that.
Yeah.
And the job I do now, I love it, but it's just news. It's a constant diet of it's daily
Still
news.
do a bit of football, though.
I still do football, but not as much, and we don't travel as much as.
And I see you pop around the stadium. I like when the manager. I saw you when Donald got announced.
Yeah, yes, I did the interviews there. Yeah, I mean, I still get out. I still get out and do an awful lot. But I mean, even film stuff now. That's how things have moved on. I go out with a camera, and people say, "Where's your cameraman?" I say, "No, I am the cameraman." And I go back, and people think all you do is turn up at 6 and
Is that all you do?
read out loud
You
for
just did
half an hour
a night?
But I physically edit all the pictures myself. Of the sports team, we all edit our own packages, record our own voices.
It's still very hands-on.
Very much. Yeah. I mean, TV's changed massively in the 21 years I've been in them. It was the last century, but it wasn't actually that. It was only 1996 when I got involved. And the whole of TV is just it took 5 people, cameramen, sound engineers, and everything to film something, get something on TV. Now, basically, one person. Yeah. If you come in the industry at whatever from university, you'd be trained up to be a VJ. So you film it, you make sure it's in focus, the color balance, the sound's right. You go on digitize it, and then you record your own voice, cut your own package, and that's it. So it's great. I mean, everything's done a lot quicker. And it's taken me all over the world, so I can't.
Yeah, I had the itch to get back into writing.
I do enjoy writing, but because I wrote my play, which
I haven't seen that on the
by David Corner. So that's the sort of writing that I prefer to do now. Yeah, I like playwriting's one.
You're looking for a lead actor.
Nice.
Connor Bromley is David Corner.
Quite tall enough.
Yeah. Come on, my beard's actually a little bit gingery.
Big a surreal side that you were there.
Yeah. To be fair, I would not be great. I would make my own lines. It wouldn't be. It would turn into something very different by the end. You said also that you used to travel on the Sunderland team bus the last time we were in the 3rd division.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is just an idea of how football reporting has changed, really. When I joined the Journal in '86, Laurie McMenemy was manager, which was a particularly difficult time. He'd come back to the club and just imagine he just had to turn up and everything would fall into place. And because he'd been such a returning hero as well, all the press at the time knew him, and he fell out with everybody. It was a tough time. And then Dennis Smith came along, and it was it was great. And we used to have massive arguments, but he did threaten to break my legs once, very late at night in a bar. I can't remember whether it was Northampton or somewhere like that.
So is that how close your relationship was, though? Like you used to know the team on there. On the bus, play
well, what you had was so in the. At about 9 o'clock in the morning, the evening newspapers, which would be the Chronicle, the Echo, and the Shields Gazette, each had their individual writers. They'd turn up in the morning, see the manager for half an hour, and then at about 1 o'clock, I mean, this is the same at Newcastle as well at Sunderland, Middlesbrough as well. So we'd turn up at Roker Park. The daily papers would turn up, and it could be. There was always the Northern Echo and the Journal, but there could also be the Daily Mail. Doug Weatherall was there, the Daily Mirror. Everyone had their own writers. So it could be as many as half a dozen, 10 reporters turning up. And you'd cram at the manager's office and you'd just chat to him. And quite often the managers would say, nothing's happening today. But you would talk, and between you'd get some sort of line out of them. And it was great. So you got to know them, they got to know you. And then, Dennis Smith invited the regulars onto the team bus. So we used to turn up Friday lunchtime, and there'd be about 3 or 4 of us. Team would sit at the back, management would sit at the front, press would sit in the middle.
The buffer.
Yeah, we were like the buffer between them all. Gary Bennett would bring these CDs and these dodgy videos onto the team bus.
Dodgy videos?
I mean, we would arrive at the hotel on a Friday night. The team would have their meal. I think we were allowed 1 drink, and then they were off to bed. And then we were in the bar, and then when they went away, we'd go and have a meal. Viv Busby and Dennis, and occasionally Bob Murray would be on one table. Roger Jones, I think, was the one of the coaches as well. And the press would be on another table. And when we finished the meal, we'd get together and we'd sit in the bar till about 2 or 3 in the morning and just chat. And it was great because you got to know things, and they told you things in confidence, or they gave you a bit of background to what was going on. But it also meant if they had a gripe with you, they could have a go and say,
how does that work? You think that something's been done wrong, and maybe you publish something that they might think's not fair. How does that conversation go?
Yeah, I remember once I was quite pally with Gary Hours because he was a couple of years younger than me, and we used to go and play golf together at Washington. So I got quite chummy with him, and I remember a friend of mine told me that QPR had been had a scout watching him, and I just happened to mention it to him in passing because he went mention it in the dressing room. And the next time I went turn up in ROKER Park, Dennis Smith just came over and grabbed hold of me and said, "You've been tapping my players." So I leave me explaining and say, "You've been tapping my players," and I didn't have a clue what he was on about. He dragged me into his office, started screaming at me about Gary Hours, and I said, "Look, this is what I'm." He said, "Well, I'm telling you, it hasn't happened." I said, "Well, look, I'm telling you, it has, because I know the guy who's a scout, and he's been there." And I said, "Look, I was telling him as a mate. I wasn't tapping him up." But eventually, we got over that, and that's what you could do, because you got to meet these guys, and it was. Dennis always loved an argument as well. He was one of these who.
He fished for it.
Well, he did a bit. He was so he was a working class lad from the Potteries who'd become a self-made man, and look what I've done, and very hardline Tory, and so he used to have massive rows with Brian McNally, who was the one of the sports writers at the time, who was a huge left-wing socialist, and we used to get caught in the middle. But Dennis was also very much the old school, whereby eventually the argument would always descend into, who have you ever played for? Have you ever played in the first division? And all you could say was, so you've got to be a film director to enjoy a film, or say what you like about it, or an author to say whether you think the book's good enough. Yeah. And I'd say, well, I've watched football for at that time 20 odd years, 25 years. I'd like to think I've got some sort of insight in the game, but no, I haven't played it at your level. But that was always his default position. You've never played it, so you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, waving those credentials around.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, but it was great. It was really good fun, and of course, it was a good time for the club because we were winning. It changed when as they got further up the leagues, when they got back into what's it, Division 2 then?
Would have been, yeah.
It would have been, because of pre-Premier League. But it was still a good atmosphere, a good.
You must have covered the '92 Cup final.
Yes, it was the '92 Cup final.
I heard who was it? Somebody was telling us about Graham Anderson. Was at the Echo, but he wasn't a sports writer at the time, and he got the chance to sit in the home crowd, and he had to do a story on being in the home crowd or something, and apparently that made his life.
Yeah, I mean, to see any North East team in the cup final was amazing, and I had to really fight for it because it was '92. I'd just started as a cricket writer, and the editor at the time wanted to send the new football writer, a guy called Ian Dovison, who was a mate of mine, went up to work for Sky TV, and he said, "Oh no, Jeff's been covering football for however long, 6 years at the time." He said he's got to go and do it. And I really had to fight to, and that was great. That was apart from the game itself, which was a bit grim. The only player who didn't talk to us afterwards, I seem to remember, was Peter Davenport. Was Davenport playing? But generally, the players were great, and. We made some really good friendships there that, the likes of Kevin Ball and Benno and Gabbers, I would class as friends. And same at Newcastle, there's a lot of guys at Newcastle because it was the same there. You could, you actually got to meet the players. You went up the training ground every day. You could watch them. I remember going to watch Gaza training, when I first came back. The press could just go in, stand there, watch it. And when they came off the pitch, you could grab anyone you like for an interview. I mean, now you try and talk to a player without going through the press office, and it's you get your hand chopped off, which is sad, really. And we didn't do it for our own personal gratification. You do it because you're the middleman between the players and the fans. It's a lot different now. I think it's great that to some extent the players go on Twitter and you've got some sort of contact. But
Twitter's that middleman now, isn't it? Essentially.
Yeah. I mean, we have the only time we get to speak to players now is in very controlled conditions. Before a match or grabbing them for a few minutes when they come out afterwards. And
Yeah, you can ask any question as long as they don't breach categories X, Y, A, B, Z, J.
I mean, I've got a contacts book which is still packed full of phone numbers of sadly a lot of dead players now, or dead managers, and would ring anybody up, and it was a different time. I don't think sports report football writing is as pleasurable as it was back then, when you could when the Premier League came in, the whole thing changed, the whole dynamic.
What do you think about sort of the media in general? I often like to speak to media people about, I think that the media gave everything away for free and didn't monetize it, and they can't go back now. I don't just see your view, and obviously you're BBC, so you're a bit different.
Yeah, well, I mean, BBC makes it difficult for everyone in a way, because the BBC website is so comprehensive, and I mean, it's not free because it's part of your license fee, but nominally it's it is. I think it's a fantastic service, a BBC Sport website. The
BBC News, everything.
Yeah, but yeah, generally, I mean, Sky has a Sky change for the better. It's brought in, it helped pay for all seat stadiums and pay for fantastic footballers from all over the world to come and play. But also, it's not the game that I grew up with. When you paid £0.50. I'll explain how much money. It's 12.5 new pence. When you weren't paying much, you stood in the rain. If your team lost, well, that was disappointing, but there's another game next week. And now, every game's a matter of life and death, and
that's the way you build it up on the telly for us. That's why.
Yeah, it's all your fault.
Graham Field asks, what games stand out for you, Jeffs, over the years for Sunderland? What games, if I said to you, Sunderland game, what's the one that pops in your mind?
Sunderland games? Probably the Chelsea game first. Time they played them back in the Premier League. The 4-1, yeah. When being hammered at Stamford Bridge on the first day of the season, thinking, wow, this is going to be tough, to see how far they came. And I remember being stunned at half time and saying to someone in the press box, I might not see a Sunderland team play as well as that again.
It's a shame that they didn't beat them like 8-0. Yeah. It's always upsetting, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I haven't been 4-0 up at half time. Nearly got a fifth, and Kevin Phillips nearly got one in the second half. That's what I think, of all the Sunderland games I've seen, that's probably the one that you think, wow, that was possibly Sunderland the best I'll ever see them play. Bury game stands out because I was doing the promotion game to go into the Premier League, because I was doing the post-match interviews, and I remember running on the pitch, chasing Kevin Phillips. The cameraman was running with me, and the cord from the microphone was wrapped around my foot, and I was in danger of falling flat on my face in front of thousands of Sunderland fans, and hopping towards Kevin Phillips thinking, this looks horrible, this is really embarrassing. And then when the championship was presented after the Birmingham game, again, I was doing the interviews, and I was on the pitch walking around with the team and thinking, oh, this is a bit special, this, being on the pitch.
They were applauding me.
For me. I mean,
do you ever feel like clapping? Say, yeah.
I mean, away from Sunderland, I did Middlesbrough's UEFA Cup final, which was amazing to think.
Did you go the final? Was the final in Eindhoven?
The final was in Eindhoven, yeah. I covered the final there, and just thought, I didn't think I'd ever see a Northeast, and probably never will again. I'm thinking I've got about 10 years of working life left. Will I ever see another Northeast team in a European Cup final, or the final of a European competition? Probably not. No, probably not. No, I got thrown out of a cup final once. I covered Newcastle Man United Cup final, which was 99, wasn't it? And I was behind the goal, and I wasn't wearing my TV bib because it was a really hot day, and I just phoned one of my mates to say, if you look behind Steve Harper's goal, you'll see me, because I'm the one not wearing a bib, which should have really rang a bell somewhere, because within about 2 minutes the head steward came over and said, where are you, where's your bib? And I said, what, it's in there. And he said, right, get out. And I said, look, I've got a pass. It says that. And he said, get out. And I had to walk while the cup final was going. I had to walk around the outside of the pitch, thinking, I hope the cameras are.
The walk of shame.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most embarrassing moments.
So you got kicked out?
I got kicked out. I found a bib and I went back in and I hid at the other end of the pitch behind two guys who, when I got talking to them, they were photographers who worked for Channel 4 and they weren't even reporting. They just like got bibs and got in for nothing.
there.
And I thought, at least I'm reporting. I should be here.
Fair play.
Yeah.
But right trooper, like.
Yeah, I've been
done pretty well over the years.
Yeah. No, there've been some, and some of the managers, over the years. Reedy was probably, media-wise, was one of the best as well. Just a great guy.
What did you make of Premier Passions when that came out? Because obviously I was born 94. I don't know when you were born.
97.
97.
Yeah. So it's before I've watched.
You would have been allowed to watch it with all the swearing.
I've seen it as a retrospective thing, but at the time, what was that like? Obviously, you would have been on ITV.
I kept looking for myself. I don't think it actually got on at any stage, which was a bit disappointing.
Well, they wouldn't have it was Enemy.
No, but they did sort of press conferences and things like that, and. It was amazing. It was a great series, a fascinating series, and the fact that it was last season at Roker Park, I think it was the access that the club gave was astonishing. And from what I understand, they didn't give them the same sort of access to the Fullback 73 guys who were doing the Netflix documentary, and they didn't let them in dressing rooms.
Did they not?
No.
I'm interested to see what that looks like. I know I'm in it for 15 seconds ish. So that'll be interesting.
Was it when they had the cameras? Is it in here?
Yes, that was just horrendous. We had the podcast in here the first day, and then we get Stuart in here. It's me, Stuart, and there's another guest. But then there's a massive camera crew. No, it was Johnny Goldsmith. A massitive camera crew is just there. Like in that window, and I'm like sat here, obviously nervous as you would be because big interview, and I couldn't concentrate. Just all over the place. First 3 minutes of that interview, I'm not even there while they're at the window. So we have got Stuart Donald on the podcast on Friday, so I thought we should do a wee preview 5 minutes before we all head off home and you can have your tea.
Yeah.
So what do you make of Stuart Donald and everything they've done since they've came in? All positive?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like a lot of people, there was a healthy dose of scepticism when he.
That's just natural northeast, though, isn't it?
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because of what had gone on with Ellis Short, you were always thinking there's got to be more to it than just this. Surely he's not going to write off the debt. And there's a connection, the Skibo Castle connection with Charlie Methven, who has Skibo Castle owned by Ellis Short as one of his clients on his PR. So you're thinking, well, that's where it's all. There must be something more to this. And was there the first day that he arrived, and I think "kid in the sweet shop" was the phrase that sprang to mind. And I listened to the podcast, and when he was talking about having fans in to come and change the seats, and I could imagine the Louise in the PR department suddenly covering her eyes and going, "No."
How do you think I felt? I was the one who really I had to go.
But what a great idea that and he's made it happen. And so far, they've been true to their word, and you can only applaud them. I mean, from a media point of view, you've gone from Ellis Short, a guy who in 10 years never gave one interview to us. He gave an interview to Sky, and he did a couple for SEFC TV, but never spoke to us. I interviewed him once in a cup final celebration event in the banqueting suite, and that was the only time I ever met him in 10 years. And to go from that to a guy who suddenly,
everywhere.
We tried to get him that night. We tried to get him live on Look North his first night, and he said, "Oh, I've got to go off and do this podcast. But if I'm finished in time, I'll come straight back. And if I can't do it, then just ring me anytime, and I'll come on live on it." And I'm
it's
thinking,
wonderful, really, isn't it?
It is great. Yeah, it's
slightly
fantastic.
overwhelmed. And
we've gone from a bloke who got more elusive with each passing year to a bloke who just wants to be everywhere at once.
Yeah.
It's tremendous.
I mean, he's going to have to rein it in, and I think he has a little bit.
Oh, of course.
But it's we certainly media wise we can't complain. I mean, we never saw Ellis Short. Never had an interview with Mike Ashley in 10 years. The last time we had an interview with Steve Gibson at Middlesbrough was the day Aitor Karanka took over, which must be 4 or 5 years ago now.
I think probably 2012.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah. So
no, I think it was 2013.
Yeah, what I said, Alex. Yeah.
All right.
And as things go on, my worry was that either if things go incredibly well, or if the wheels come off, then the two guys might be a bit surprised at the extremes of reactions that they get. But fair play to them for what they've done so far.
Do you think other teams will learn from that? Do you think? Because I've never came across a team of this size having that sort of level of interaction. It's just been alien. I've never known anyone. I know Peterborough chairman does it, but other than that,
well, in a way, it went back to 30 years ago. In the last time the club were in this position, Bob Murray took over. He rang the Journal. I was on the Journal. He rang the news desk and said, "I've just taken over as chairman of Sunderland Football Club. Would you like to come and interview me?" And that that sort of thing.
That must be a dream for a journalist.
For us, it was so easy. It was wonderful. And again, what Bob did in the early years, he every pre-season he'd have a big media event, and so he'd get all the press in. He put a dinner on. There'd be a darts competition. There'd be a snooker competition. One year he got us all kitted out. Took us on to Roker Park. We had a penalty competition against Ian Hesford, which was more difficult than you'd imagine. Arthur Appleton, a journalist who was with the Sunday Times, he was about 75 at the time, and came on and scored a penalty. And it was just a nice family atmosphere, and that's the sort of thing. I think if you're not looking to get the media or the press to do, just to write gushing articles about you. But when you've got that little bit of give and take, you just understand each other a bit better. You understand the pressures that they're under, and they hopefully understand what the pressures you're under and what you're trying to achieve. You just...
Yeah, it's nice seeing everyone on the same side, isn't it? It's nice to see the powers that be, so just like liaising with the press just to produce, the truth, to get the truth out there. It's a far cry from Martin Bain and his, in his press puppets telling you what paints him in a good light and keeps everything just about hush hush.
It went from you could speak to anyone to you can only speak to someone with a press officer hanging over your shoulder, and they've got a job to do, but it's again it doesn't make for a great sort of relationship. But Stuart Donald has changed it all, and
totally.
Take my hat off to him.
All right, well, I think I'm going to wrap that up and we're going to all head home. It's 9:01, which is pretty much when we're said, so that's all good. So thanks, Jeff, for sharing your time. We'll get you back on in the future. I'm sure we'll hopefully be talking about promotion or any promotion by then. Alex, always good to see you.
Yeah.
Good catch up. Pretty good. I'm enjoying the look. I like you.
Thank you.
You only have a beard.
I've started growing a beard. It's coming all right. It's a little bit patchy in places, but
I think it's
as a man with a good beard, Paddy, I appreciate that. It's high praise indeed.
Anytime, no problem.
Jeff, you probably hate beards. Your generation hates them.
Yes. I tried to grow one a few years ago and it was grey.
Yeah, I can imagine you with a bit of a goatee.
I had a tash till I was about 24. Yeah.
You should go like a Hulk Hogan style sort of.
A handlebar.
when this penalty spot finally spreads, and then I'll start growing on top of
Yeah, you could do that. Wear the bandana and that. I could see that. Brownomania and do all that stuff. Paddy, always nice to see you.
Yeah.
Good to see an Irishman in here.
Be last time in a while.
Yeah, he's moving to Coventry.
Back off to Dublin. Yeah.
Back off to university.
Back to Dublin, aye. He's going to Cork. Go see his Uncle Roy.
Yeah.
I'm not Irish. I'm sick of saying it. But
Who calls a ginger kid Paddy?
There you go. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I didn't come out with ginger hair, did I? I was probably bald. I would have thought.
Well,
A baby's born with hair.
Some are.
change your name.
Yeah, some are. Yeah.
Change my name.
Are you Paddy or Patrick?
Patrick.
I'll call my kid Paddy.
Would you?
Paddy Bromley.
I would just spend the rest of my life taking the piss out of them. And my dad wanted to call me Finbar.
Finbar.
Finbar Bromley.
I know.
He wasn't a fan of Viz, was he?
No idea.
Finbar son.
Now you've said that, I'm gonna bring that up.
How about Gideon, Tarquin, Finbar? You know what? No, Connor. Connor will do.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, he just decided that he hated us pretty much before I was born and wanted to call us Finbar. He's an idiot. There we are. Connor's an alright name though. I'll take that. Right, that's a nice way to end anyway. All proves my name.